Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I got a little project I want to get knocked out. I've got a chuck here that goes on a lathe. This is a kind of an interesting chuck. I think I've shown this in a video before. I don't even remember where I got it. Picked it up from a viewer, I think. But this is a 4-jaw chuck, but it also has a scroll in it where you can either adjust the jaws independently or you can adjust them all together with the scroll. They'll move in and out like a 3-jaw chuck. But you've also got where you can adjust them independently. So this is a really handy tool. You know, if you get something set up that's kind of a regular shape and you want to be able to just easily use that scroll chuck to move them all open and close so you can have somewhat of repeatability in a production run. I kind of had put this chuck aside with the thought that I was going to mount it, put a mount on it that I could put over on my Monarch lathes, either one of them, and use it just because it's unique. But I think I've got a different home for this now. A while back, John Flynn contacted me. John Flynn is a volunteer that works for the Air Base Georgia, which is up in Peachtree City. They actually work on and restore some World War II vintage aircraft that they go around and fly. They're part of the commemorative Air Force. But they've got a really nice shop up there. I actually visited a while back, but they were needing a 4-jaw chuck to go on a lathe, and they were needing one with an L0 backplate on it. Well, I got to digging around in my stuff, and I found this 4-jaw chuck, which is the size that they need, no backplate on it, but I also had in my stash an L0 backplate that needs to be mounted on chuck. So I think that we're going to basically gift these items up there to Air Base Georgia where they can use those and be able to put it to good use. So I'm kind of excited to be able to find a good home for this. Mounting the backplate on here is, I would love to do all that in the shop. I do not have a lathe with an L0 spindle on it. And to do this, you need to machine this backplate to fit this chuck. And ideally, it needs to be machined on the machine that you're going to be running it on. So it's going to be a bit of a project for them, but I am going to be able to at least provide them with what they need. Now, as for this chuck, it is a little bit rusty, crusty. It appears to be in good shape overall. It just needs to be cleaned up, and that's going to be today's project. I want to basically, I think, try to, clean this thing up, probably take it apart, get all the gunk and stuff cleaned out of it, get it properly lubricated, get it put back together so that when they get it, they can just put it on their machine and machine this back plate and get it mounted up where they can use it. So that's what we're going to be doing. Let's see if we can take this old rusty, crusty chuck and turn it into gold and get it ready to roll. So you can kind of see the overall condition. It's rusty and dirty, but overall, I think it's in good shape. Here, it's got 2 different size keys to it. I actually don't have a chuck key that fits this particular one here, but this is the one where you can adjust the individual jaws in and out. So there's 4 of these, one on each of the chucks or the jaws. But also back here in the back, you got a second scroll or second handle. And when you turn this, again, there's a scroll inside of there, and that opens and closes all of these jaws together. So, a 3-jaw chuck, typically they're all going to open and close together. A 4-jaw chuck is typically going to be independent jaws, although you can get a 4-jaw chuck that's on a scroll. I've got one that I use from time to time. But again, this one is cool because it's the best of both worlds. You got the independent chuck and the scroll chucks or jaws all rolled together. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start by pulling these jaws out. So I'm going to need to just crank these on out of here, get them opened up where we can start taking this thing apart. I need to just do this on all 4 of these independent jaws and get them out of there. All right, there's one down. Got those out. Now, I want to try to pull out the scroll parts. But before I do, I'm going to get a wire brush and just clean this up a little bit. I want to make sure that these are numbered because they should go back into the same slot that they came out of. And I want to make sure I got them marked where I can do that. All right, we're turning each one of these, or all four of these, out together. And I'm going to do it this way where I can keep track of which one comes out of each hole, because they do need to go back in the same one they came out of, and they need to go back in a particular order. So we'll get that figured out here in a moment. Starting to see the scroll down in there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll turn that a little bit. And you can see it down in here. As I turn this handle, it's twisting that scroll, and that scroll engages in the back of each one of these pieces, and that's what turns it out. All right, I'm turning the scroll, but nothing is going out, so they are all disengaged now. They should each individually pull out. Again, I'm going to do this where I can keep them together and figure out which one goes where. All right, I'm just looking at the little scrolls down here on the bottom, and I can tell that this is the one that's going to engage first, second, third, and fourth. So this one needs to be number 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to get some number stamps, and we're going to number these so that we can make sure they go back the way they came apart. I took a Sharpie and I numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I happened to notice right here, I saw there's a number 4 stamped right there. And I went back with a wire brush, and yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're already stamped on this side. I don't see these stamped unless they're stamped on the inside. Yeah, look at there, number 1. Get it in the frame. So that one is stamped number 1. So they're already marked. I'm not going to have to stamp them. I thought I was going to stamp them, but we should be good to go. So I'm not going to worry about stamping them because it's already done. All right, we got this flipped over on the back, and you see we got the screws going around. This is what's going to hold this whole thing together. And I'm hoping these are going to come apart. Let me look and see what we can do. Put a little squirt of penetrating oil on each one of these. This is some CRC Knocker Loose, one of my favorite penetrating oils. Everybody has their own favorites. This one has served me well. All right, I'm going to put my screwdriver in here. I've got a wrench on it, and I want to see if we can break these loose. Wow, those are in there. Okay, that one came loose. I'm going to try this with my little impact gun here. Yeah, that's bringing them right out. We'll just use this. All right. Wipe that up a little bit. Now comes the fun part. We got to get this separated. This will come apart in 2 pieces. There aren't any screws or anything holding it in this direction, so, and I can see where someone has hit it with a chisel right there in the past and dinged it up. I didn't do that, but we may try something similar. I am going to put a little chisel in here. See if we can kind of break this loose. Yeah, it's coming apart. leave a screwdriver in right there to kind of keep a separation on there. And we're working it apart here. Put that in over there. There we go, we got it apart now. So there's back plate. There's the scroll plate. Go ahead and take it out. There we go. And with that, we pretty much have this chuck taken apart to its components, which was my goal. And now comes the fun part, which is just going to be cleaning everything up. All right, I think I'm going to start by cleaning this stuff up over in the parts washer. I've got a parts washer with mineral spirits in it. I'm going to take it over there. We will get in there and get all the old grease and oil and gunk off of it cleaned up. And then I'll probably take the individual components over to a wire wheel them, get all the rust and everything off of them. And then I think we'll be ready to put this thing back together. So let me get ready to go do some scrubbing in the parts washer. All right, we're over here in the parts washer. This is just full of mineral spirits, a solvent that we can get in here and get all this old grease and crud and anything else that's in here kind of cleaned out. We're going to be re-greasing this when we put it all back together, but I want to get all this old grease and oil and years of whatever, get it all out of here. So we'll use a combination of the soft bristle brush and a wire brush, and we'll get this cleaned up. I'm just going to do each individual part. I'm going to do them one at a time, and we'll get them all, everything nice and clean here before we take things through the wire wheel and start getting rust off. All right, we got things pretty well cleaned up here and ready to start reassembling. So again, parts washer, degreased everything, then took it to the wire wheel. Some of them took the wire wheel and the grinder too. Some of them took it to the bench grinder, some with the hand grinder, but we got it all cleaned up, and I think we are ready to start putting this back together. So first things first, we need to get our scroll plate back in here, and this is going to drop in here, but before I do, I want to lube it up pretty good. So let me get some grease here. This is just some Teflon grease that I have, and I'm just going to put some all down inside the bottom of this where those plates will be rubbing together. It doesn't need to be overly greased, but I want to make sure all the surfaces are coated. While we got it apart, now is the best time to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and put some grease in this scroll. Again, you don't want excessive amounts of grease in here, but I do want to make sure everything's got a nice little protective coating on it that will just help everything mesh together and slide in operation. All right, so now this will drop back down in here, hopefully. It's got to be just right. Using a brass punch. There it goes. Now that'll rotate on that plate in there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and grease up this rack in here. Now, when I was working on this, there were a couple places where they put a chisel in here. I want to just make sure I don't have any dings or anything in there. So I'm going to just take my precision ground flat stones and just run them over these surfaces. And yeah, there's a couple little burrs in there. I see them polishing up. That will just help make sure everything goes back together nice and flat. And I can see some little high spots around a couple of places in there. All right, and see if I can kind of do the same thing over here on this. And this back is ready to go back on here. Gonna just grease these up real good. Now, I noticed there were some marks on this that kind of show where these two pieces go together. I need to kind of figure out where those are again. There's a single dimple right there. And there's its match right here. So this will go back together like such. I'm going to take a soft-faced hammer here. All right, that is back together. And we got our screws that came out of here, and we'll go ahead and get all these tightened back up. And we'll just use this to drop them in. All right. All right, before I go any further, I'm going to take my chuck key here and just make sure that that is turning on the inside. And that's mighty stiff. Let's see if it'll loosen up. Yeah, it's going to loosen up, I think. All right, so now I want to go ahead and get my pieces put back in. And what I want to do is I want to find number one, which is this one right here, and I want to watch this scroll come around until I find the leading edge of the scroll, which I'm right there at it. You can see it, it's right there. So again, you see right here, if I turn that just a little bit, you can see where that scroll starts to come around and catch. So that's going to be the first one to catch right there. And now I need to find my number 1 piece to go back in here. And this is going to go in just like such. Let me put a little lube on this. I'm just putting a little grease on the sides of these to help them slide in there. And we're going to slide this in. And as I turn that scroll, it should engage right there and start pulling in. I'm going to watch it around over here until I see it come in number 2 right there. All right, here's number 2. We will once again kind of put a little grease on these. I'm going to put it in here and we'll engage that one and bring it on around to number 3. All right, this is number 3. Again, you see hopefully you can see that leading edge of that screw coming in. This is my number 3 piece that goes in here. Again, we'll lube it up. Don't want to be excessive with the grease, but have a little bit of lubrication in there. All right, that one is caught, and number 4 is around over here. Take number 4. All right, come on, number 4. There it goes. All right, we got all of them engaged now and pulling in, and I'm just going to go ahead and wind them on in here. All right, I got all of these kind of flush with the outside edge now. Wipe off the excess grease. And now we are ready to put our jaws in. And these are numbered as well, I think. Let me look and see. That's number 3, 3, 4. That was marked number 3 on one side and 4 on the other. It says 1 on one side. Okay, so there's my number. The one side's got them numbered. All of them have a number 3 on one side, but this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is 1. So again, let me put a little bit of grease on these. Don't want them over greased, but do want to put a little on there just to help them slide in those little channels. I'm gonna have to slide this around this way where I can turn the handle. There we go. We'll just go ahead and turn that one on all the way on in. You can, of course, on this style, you can unscrew these and turn them around if you want to grip them use the insides. I'm going to go ahead and just put them on this one here, but if you wanted to grip something on the outside of in these little sections here, you could flip these around. All right, let me go to number 2. And with that, we have this chuck back together and ready to go, serviced and ready for use. All right, I think we've got this chuck all cleaned up and ready to go. Quite the transformation from what we started with. These chucks are usually, unless they've got severe rusting or pitting on them, they're usually, you can get in there and do this kind of work to them, and it's good to do this to your chucks from time to time. Service them, clean them up. They get full of chips and gunk, and sometimes they don't work like they should. But this one is all ready to go. I was noticing while we were cleaning it up, it's made by the Skinner Chuck Company. Let me find it again. I don't know if you guys can read this or not. It's pretty faint, but it says the Skinner Chuck Company of New Britain, Connecticut is stamped into the face of it. Skinner made some good stuff back in the day. Well, there we go. One old chuck rescued from the junk pile and to be put back into service for many more years of good and faithful service. Like I said, this is going to Air Base, Georgia. We're going to send it on up with this L0 back plate, and we'll let them get all that worked out and put together. But this should make a good user chuck for them to be able to use in restoring some really cool vintage machinery in the form of World War II era aircraft. Some of my favorite things. So glad to be able to help these guys out and get them up and going and using the lathe with a good four-jaw chuck. With that, guys, that is a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. And as always, a big, huge thank you to those guys who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. Really enables me to be able to take the time and shoot these videos, bring them to you, and hopefully let you guys come along for the ride. With that, we are going to sign off. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.